All right, cool. So let's get started. So, hey, Chris, thanks for joining. For anybody watching, this is Chris Holes. He's the CEO of Life360, and we're going to be talking about their data policies today. Chris, why don't you start us off with a little bit about yourself and tell us how you came up with the idea of Life360?
Sure. As you mentioned, Chris Halls, co-founder and CEO of Life360. I came up with the idea for the company while I was in college, which was when Hurricane Katrina was happening. And the government did such a bad job of using technology to help families reconnect. I thought with what was then upcoming smartphones, what if we could use mobile technology to help families in big emergencies? And so we actually started as a pure play emergency app, but very quickly realized that there's something bigger we were onto, because when people were using this, we were just using it amongst ourselves. I didn't have kids at the time, and like, this is actually pretty useful. Knowing where people are isn't just about the big, huge earthquake or hurricane, but coordinating, keeping people safe, knowing everyone's okay. We think that's actually a way of building an app that families around the world can use in like this really big and powerful way.
Great. And so for that entire time, has that journey always been what is today Life360?
After we made this pivot from emergency only to doing a whole lot more, yeah, absolutely. So a lot of it was we were really early to market. When we started, we had this idea that we could use accelerometers on phones to detect car crashes, and the tech just wasn't there. 7 years later, after we launched, they put accelerometers on the actual chips of the phone, so you could do this accelerometer monitoring without killing a battery, and we were just too early to market. So the overall vision really hasn't changed. What has changed is that families are now digitally native. People naturally look to their phone to get through the day, whereas when smartphones came out, they really didn't.
Sure. And for Chris, for anybody listening who might not know what Life360 is, although I'm sure 99% do, what in your words is Life360?
Life360 is your family network. You have Facebook for friends, you have LinkedIn for professionals. We are there for your family.
Okay. And so let's try to transition over into the topic of today's conversation is Life360 and data. Specifically, what Life360, what data y'all collect, where it goes, how it's shared, things like that. So we'll just start out with the very first question. What data does Life360 collect?
Sure. Let me actually back up. I realized when I answered your last question, I kind of went the elevator business pitch. I should talk a little bit about the features because they are very relevant to what we collect. So the core way people use our app today is for location sharing. So you download the app on your phone, your family members have it, then you can see each other on a map. You can also then do things on top of that that are around safety, like is someone speeding? Are they driving and using the phone? Did they even get in a car accident? So we're basically a location sharing and communication app, and everything is built on that information. So when you look at, to your next question of what data we collect, as a location app, obviously we're collecting 24/7 location because that's the entire premise of the app. And then on top of that, we pull in all the sensor data on top of it from like accelerometer, barometer, GPS, Wi-Fi, because that helps us do all the features we do in ways that minimize battery consumption, while also giving high accuracy and reliability on everything we collect. And then of course, you have like name, email, and phone number. But the thing that makes us unique in terms of our core use case is that location data.
Okay. And how long is that location data stored?
I think by default, it's 30 days. By different tiers, we have different days for it. And then we just automatically delete it after that point in time, although we have certain profile information that persists indefinitely.
Okay. And what, after this data is collected, what does your company do with it?
Sure. So we have a number of things we do. We obviously use it internally to build out the services that we need to power the system in-house. We have some partners that ingest the data and use it purely also to help with the service. So Amazon AWS has all our data. So Amazon has all our information. They can't touch it because of contractual rules, but they have it. We have companies like Amplitude that help us power our metrics. We have a partnership with Allstate, which powers our crash detection service and also does tie in with an insurance partnership we have, which we can talk about in a minute. And then we also have what we call a data platform, which lets trusted third parties have some access to portions of it, which do help us make money by allowing certain de-identified pieces of data to be shared with others, and that helps keep the app free. So as an example, like a lot of the COVID dashboards on social distancing you might have seen on like the New York Times, it was done using that underlying data platform we offer. And as another example, we are working on eventually trying to do our own insurance product that gives you insurance deals based on how you drive. But we have kind of a baby step to that with Allstate, where they, in a completely anonymized way, will take your insurance data, and then we take that and match you with insurance offers based on how you drive. But it doesn't allow them to change your rates. They actually don't know who you are. But it's part of a data platform we can talk a little bit about.
Sure. So let's touch on that a little bit more. This is not our first conversation. You and I had a phone call about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I gave you this hypothetical, and I think it's a hypothetical that is a good way segment into explaining. So Jimmy's a 16-year-old kid who has a propensity to speed. Every time he gets in the car, he averages at some point in time in his trip 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. So if he's going just down a 30-mile-an-hour road, he's going 45. If he's going on a 60-mile-an-hour highway, he's going 75 because he's a 16-year-old kid, and that's just what 16-year-old kids do.
Yep.
Okay. And if Jimmy's on Life360, is that data taken, given to Allstate or whoever your partner is, and they see it and they go, wow, this individual right here has a propensity to speed, therefore he's more likely to get into a crash, therefore his premiums are going up?
No, that can never happen. So contractually, they're not allowed to do it. Legislatively, risk models have to be approved by the various governing bodies. And then technically, they just don't have that information. We don't hand it to them. So that is in terms of using that information against you. How it could be used in our app, though, is we know who Jimmy is. We are doing this de-identified thing. So there's this anonymous driver at given trips, like, hey, what profile do they match? We would then go to Allstate. They would have this, and they say, I could be Allstate and say, I want to show an offer to someone that meets a certain profile. Jimmy might not be shown that unique offer because he's a bad driver. But when that offer is being shown, they don't know who that is. They can't take that and persist it to punish you. It's literally in that moment in time information we can use to match the offer you might see.
Right. Okay. So Jimmy won't be directly affected with it. However, he could miss out on the opportunity because he would not be served that he would not fit into the de-identified target market that the insurance product is looking to sell to.
Exactly.
Okay.
In fact, it could be targeted ones like, hey, you might be a bad driver. Maybe we should, here's a really expensive insurance because we're the only people that are going to take care of you.
Right.
I'm being kind of sarcastic on that, but it could be all sorts of things.
I was going to bring up the point as a personal injury lawyer, I might sit you down with the board and say, hey, I might want to push products to all the bad drivers out there. Right. So I don't know who they are, but if they fit that bad, the bad driver profile, then I could in theory put ads in front of them.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So now that we have established that the data is not transferred in an identifiable way, what more can somebody do if they don't feel comfortable, but they still want to use your app? Specifically, is there any way for a user to opt out of having their data shared?
Yeah. So we have something called the Privacy and Security Center. In it, in plain language, the best we can with plain language, these things, as you know, as a lawyer, they're always more complicated than they sound. But we try to digest the plain language around here, all the ways your data is used in the app, and when possible, that you turn it on or turn it off. And it's everything from if my family has an emergency, do we have authorization to release your information to help me in a life or limb disaster? If you turn it off and the cops call us and say, hey, Jimmy's lost, we're going to call Life360 for that data. If you have that setting off, we're going to say you made a choice. We're not going to help you. You can then go down a whole bunch of things. You can turn off offers. You can turn off access to our data platform, and we will not diminish your experience or punish you for opting out of these settings. We personally believe it's safe and fine. I'm in the system and it doesn't bother me, so I drink my own Kool-Aid here, but we're trying to be non-judgmental about that. We want to be transparent and open, and whatever you feel comfortable with, you can opt into. I'm personally someone that likes personalized ads. like, aside from my wife sometimes is using my computer, then I'm like getting offers for yoga pants, which is frustrating. But I kind of like nerdy RC planes and rockets. I kind of like that I'm getting that ad for the rockets. It's kind of like a similar thing with driving. Like, it doesn't bother me that I'm going to get these contextual ads because they're done in a way that it can't be used against me. But you can,
Right.
if you want them off, you just turn them off.
Right. And anybody can turn them off. You don't need to be a paid subscriber or anything like that.
Anyone can turn them off. And then depending on region, we automatically turn off settings. So under CCPA in California, you're automatically opted out of that type of personalization in California. And then COPA, Child Online Privacy and Protection Act, which is a federal statute, anyone under 13 is automatically opted out. So we make sure we follow all those guidelines, because the law basically says if you're under a certain age, you don't have agency to make these decisions for yourself.
Sure. And okay, so that pretty much covers that. What is Life360? What are y'all's plans for the future now that, you know, you guys have kind of hit a point where y'all are the number one app in the marketplace? What's the future look like for Life360?
So we're doing two big things. One is we've been this very like utility app around where are you. It's not exactly a fun app because we're really utility, but we are trying to do a little more around communication. So it's not just like where are you, but how are you. So reply with how you're feeling, drop a picture on the map, make the services feel a little bit more interactive. So it's more of a sense of togetherness when you use the product with your family members. And that's something we're doing for everybody on the free side. And we hope it just softens our edges a bit, because I do feel sometimes we're a bit misunderstood as a company. And then on the premium side, in just a few weeks, actually, we're launching a massive overhaul of our premium offering. Actually, some free stuff too, where we're doing a 24/7 monitored SOS service. So one touch, if I need help, we can send police to your location. If you push that button and then you don't enter a PIN, we automatically will dispatch the police. So if it's a situation where you're feeling attacked or unsafe, you don't even need to be in control to have that help. You let your finger off that button and it happens for you. We're doing disaster assistance, medical assistance, travel assistance, identity theft protection, stolen phone protection. So the idea is basically being, our name was Life360, this 360-degree service that any of these things you're worried about with your family, particularly for mom or dad as a family organizer, we have your back.
Right. And just curious, how many emergency notifications, whether it's police, ambulance, identity theft, how many of those notifications do y'all send out a year or a month?
Identity theft is new, so it hasn't happened yet. The help alert ones, geez, I want to say, don't quote me, but I think we had over 1 million uses of the last help alert button last year. A lot of them probably are people testing out the service, but something that is much more like legit emergency that we know is not testing is our automatic crash detection for car crashes and ambulance dispatch. We detected 10,000 crashes in the last year sent to real accidents.
Wow. And have you guys ever had anybody call your office saying, but for Life360, the ambulance would have never been called?
Yeah, that's multiple times a week. We have a whole basically binder of these things. And we've actually had people literally show up to the office and try to find us. Sometimes a little bit creepy. Who's this person coming into your office? But then you hear it's like, I wanted to come because you saved my life.
Wow, that's awesome. So Chris, we're going to transition a little bit. I've fielded some questions from TikTok. So we're just going to go down, and so we might be jumping around here. So bear with me. Question 1. Sure. Does Life360 turn over your data to law enforcement? I know we already talked about that a little bit, but could you elaborate
There are two
more?
uses. One is if they call us because they need to help you in a life or death emergency. If you have turned on the setting, it's actually default on because this is an important one. In the privacy center, we will turn it over with a specific mandate. It is only used to save you in that emergency. So we've had times with missing child, Amber Alert. In that case, we turn it over. If that option is off, we will only do it with a valid subpoena or actually search warrant. We don't, by default, we say no.
Right. Okay.
Just as an aside, the most frequent use of that is people often involved in criminal cases. They ask us to use the data for their court defense because it has actually been used to people defend themselves even in murder cases.
Right. Wow. I mean, that makes sense. I could see it. Okay. Next question. Is there anything Life360 could do to prevent abuse from the app, abuse on the app from overbearing parents?
Sure. So we're doing three things. I draw a line between abuse and overbearing. Nothing's black and white. Overbearing, which I'm interpreting as they still love you, healthy-ish, maybe a little anxious. That's more like a communication issue. So we are building what we're calling a ghost mode feature, which will let you go anonymous within a given zone so that your parents will see you're still in the zone. All the safety features still work. But then hopefully you can have that conversation of like, hey, mom, I want to go out. I kind of don't like that. Like, I'm feeling like you're knowing my every move, but I understand you want to keep me safe. Is this a compromise? So we're working on that, and that should be out within just a few months. We're targeting back to school. We're also doing, after that, a transparency and resource center, which talks about the appropriate limits of location sharing. We're going to get parenting experts, psychologists to help us create content so you as your family can have a conversation about, hey, how do you use this? We as a company are happy to take a stand and say this is not a control tool. This is a communication and safety tool. That might annoy some of our users. That's okay, because we're okay to lose people that are using our product in ways that we don't feel are above board. And then on top of that, we're exploring doing some sort of counter to see, so you can see it being open, like how often is Tommy looking at me? How often am I looking at you? Just so we can have a conversation about it. Because I bet a lot of times, a lot of kids might think their parents are actually using it a lot more than they actually are. And maybe some parents, when they actually see that number, like, oh crap, like maybe I am a little bit overbearing. So that's I'd say like for the families, like the intent is all good and maybe just a little bit of a dynamic that needs some work. For the pure abusive parents, there's really not a lot we can do other than help. So we are going to make a 24/7 hotline that will be staffed to take calls from kids who say, this isn't just over control, I'm abused. And we're going to make sure that we have a trained staff that's ready to help those kids. So that would be physical abuse, emotional abuse, but it really has to be black and white, because otherwise we can't. Sure. As a kid, you really don't have freedom of privacy, but you do have protection from abuse, and that is what that's there for.
Right.
I hope and expect that's a very small number of people, and we want to be there for our users that are going through that. And that will be something that we're building out for what I hope is a very small portion of our user base.
Right. Yeah, and I tend to think that it is small, right? It's just like with anything, the very tiny mega abusers make the most noise, right? It's just, you hear these stories, and not to say that, not to mitigate the abuse that they're going through, that's terrible, but it's more of a tool where if 99% of people are using it correctly, that's your target market, and they're operating it above board. So yep. Next question. What was Life360's thoughts on the viral 1-star review campaign?
It was humbling in some respects, because when we would normally try to reach out to teens, no one would actually get back to us. So surveys and Facebook and Twitter, it was just kind of crickets. It was only parents. So I say humbling in the sense of like, wow, we've like really built a name for ourselves. And the fact that it came out in this way was more interesting. It definitely caught our attention. The premise of like a 1-star app being removed was just wrong. I think that was a rumor that was started. Google and Apple both actually intervened. But our thought was, like instead of just like declaring victory and moving on, because it actually spiked our downloads, it didn't hurt us. We don't want to be this evil empire brand. And I am a businessman. I want the company to succeed. I thought there's actually a better business opportunity if we lean into this and like just be open with teens. Like, we are not there for controlling abusive parents. I don't think I'm what they expect as like the CEO of the company. I was actually like a free range kid. My parents were like, I went to Africa by myself when I was 12, which is also probably why I don't really relate to some of the problems the kids have. But we are genuinely hoping like, all right, we have this megaphone, 150 plus million views of Life360 hashtags. Like maybe we can really use this as coming out and saying like, you know, our teens are as valuable as parents. We want to build features that show that we have teens' backs just as much as parents. So here we are.
And was that kind of your inspiration for getting on TikTok or other social media platforms?
I mean, I'm of the Facebook generation, so I think like going back to that humbling comment, like TikTok made me feel old for the first time because we were just kind of missing it. And it's always easy to write off these social networks like as just these kind of trite things, but it was our inspiration for getting on TikTok. Is like, okay, it's not just like teenagers being mildly inappropriate doing like skimpy dances. So yeah, it was our inspiration for getting on there, and I think it's the platform of the future, and we want to lean into that because that's a lot of where our users are.
Great. And can you tell me a little bit about your experience on TikTok so far? Have you met any, I know we've talked in private and you've met some larger creators, but I'm sure you've had kids direct message you about their experience. And
yeah,
could you just elaborate more about your experience since you've been on TikTok?
Sure. I'd say from what I'm learning from kids is my biggest like legit learning about like families is there probably is a bigger bucket of controlling parents than I realized. I still think the abusive bucket is very, very, very small, but like maybe the ones that just push it a little bit was bigger than I thought. So I'm learning that, and I want to show people that were listening. In terms of the platform, I kind of like how goofy it is. That's actually more naturally my personality. And so I thought for my account, it seems like you can either be sexy or goofy, and I don't think I'm going to look too sexy. So goofy it is. So we're kind of going all in on it. And I'm usually a pretty quiet and introverted guy, but we thought
I can already imagine
jumping in.
I can already imagine right now the edit. I'm going to cut to your very first TikTok video with the Darth Vader mask right about now.
There you go. The latest one is by far the most embarrassing. I don't know if you've seen that one, but
I haven't seen it yet. I'll have to look it up.
I'm tie-dyeing a shirt. We're making a joke that Life360 is bankrupt and I need a new job. So I'm going to be going through all the trends trying to get TikTok famous is our joke.
Yep, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to watch it once this is over. Okay, next question, and you already kind of touched on it a little bit, is if you were a teen, would you be okay with your parents using Life360 on you?
If I were to go back in time, and I'm going to go back to the teen I was then, I actually would have been okay with the location features because I didn't really have a curfew. My parents trusted me. And so it would have been that healthy dynamic where it wouldn't have been a big deal. I sometimes got in a decent amount of trouble. I got arrested at a water park once, just as a funny anecdote. So I got expelled from Catholic school. So I wasn't the pearly white kid, but it was, my parents never were like independence and freedom. I always got a ton of that. The thing I would not have liked, and where I am a little bit more like the old man in the room here is the top speed in driving. I was an extremely reckless driver, and I sometimes literally get sweaty, like in my hands, like how the hell did I not die or kill somebody else? So I would have hated the top speed feature. I would have hated the texting while driving feature. We didn't have cell phones back then, but I know I would have been texting and driving. I would have hated that. But as I got older, I'm like, damn, that is something
right.
Where I kind of get all the concerns about the overbearing stuff around location and freedom. Kids should not be driving 100 miles an hour and texting and driving. And I think that is where I think as kids get older and mature, when they do get older, that's when they will actually absolutely have a conversion and be more like their parents. So I would have hated that, but I needed it.
Right. I understand what you're trying to say. Even though you personally would have not liked it at the time, you kind of wish you had someone to slap you on your wrist and say, hey, that's not right. You could really hurt somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank God I didn't, but
right.
I know people who were killed in car accidents. I probably saw 5 or 6 wrecks just in my 1 year of driving in high school. And I think the stereotypes of teens, in particular teen guys, not kind of like comprehending the consequences of like what one mistake can do is real.
Right.
And so I do, and I want to be raw with like on TikTok. I don't want to go pander. Like I'm legitimately listening about these overly controlling and sometimes abusive parents. That's not cool. It's not why we're there. But I'm not going to go to the other extreme and say, oh, we're not going to tell parents how their kids are driving anymore. Because I think that's an important thing, that if you are reckless, that conversation should absolutely be happening.
Right. And does Life360 do anything from maybe the grassroots level? Do you guys have any in-person events? Obviously right now with this COVID going on, but anything grassroots educational events, conferences, things like that?
A few, not a whole lot. We are doing some stuff with the PTA right now around resources around how to use location sharing appropriately, kind of a back to school go guide. And we're trying to do it really balanced. So we're doing that. We do sponsor some events like we go to like job fairs for engineers, especially ones that support women and underrepresented minorities. So we're involved there, but we don't really have like Life360 parent meetups or anything like that. Maybe
Sure.
coming someday. Maybe teen meetups are the more interesting angle. I'm curious if we put that on TikTok though, if we'd get anyone biting.
Right.
Maybe I say if someone can shoot me with a paintball gun or something, given my TikTok history, I'll be the draw.
That'd be a pretty good one. You know, you can make a video saying if this video gets over 5 million likes, I'll let the top commentor give me a paintball blast or something.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. All right. Well, so Chris, that's pretty much it. I think this was a good, short, to the point conversation. I do have one more question, and I know it's goofy, and it's the only question I didn't send you beforehand, but
okay.
This is a TikTok question. Somebody asked, how many likes does this video have to get for you to delete all of Life360?
I think that's a little beyond my pay grade. Delete all of Life360. We have a board and investors. I would get fired if I don't think I can even push that button anymore. It's bigger than just me. I will go to the board and say delete Life360 if we get 100 million likes.
100 million likes.
They might say no. How about a backup? Like I gotta be real. I gotta live to my.
Yeah, we gotta give somebody something to reach for. Like you said, maybe it is the paintball thing, you know? Or
if we get 1 million likes on this video, the comment you pick, I will fly them out to San Francisco to shoot me with a paintball gun.
All right, you got it.
Got Scout's honor here. 1 million likes.
All right, 1 million likes to shoot Chris with a paintball gun. There we go. And 100 million for you to go to the board, even though you might get turned down.
Sure. I will go to the board and say, I promised we would shut it down for 100 million. I think they're going to say no, but I'll do it. Sure. Done.
Okay. All right. So Chris, that's pretty much it. Do you have anything that we didn't cover that you want to discuss, or you want to call it a day?
No, we'll just say thank you for having me, and to everyone on TikTok. It's been, if someone told me even like 2 months ago I would be having a TikTok account and making fun of myself and hanging out with teenagers, I would have said you're smoking crack. So I'm having fun with it, and I really hope that everyone gives us a chance to show that we're perhaps not the app and company they always thought, and there's going to be some really cool stuff coming out that does genuinely make Life360 better for teens.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris.